and welcome to The Village. My name is Lynette Manzini. The Village is a program we bring you every Tuesday where we talk about youth issues, gender issues, social issues. In today's program, we want to look at the environment. The environment is an important component of human survival. We make use of the environment by using the natural resources that come with the environment. And we also have a responsibility to take care of it. In today's program, we want to focus on whose responsibility it is to take care of the environment and how can we best do this going forward. To help me discuss this topic today in the studio is Joyce Chapungu. She is with the Environmental Management Agency and she's the Communications Officer. Welcome to the program, Joyce.
Thank you, Lynette.
Joyce, before we even start talking about the environment, let's give our viewers a bit of background. What is the Environmental Management Agency? Let's not take for granted that some people don't even know what this organization is about.
The Environmental Management Agency is a statutory body which is responsible for the sustainable utilization of natural resources, prevention of pollution, prevention of land degradation, as well as formulating environmental laws meant to ensure sustainable development. So the agency was established in 2007 under an Act of Parliament, which is the Environmental Management Act, Chapter 2027. So this Act actually provided for the formation of an agency which is responsible for environmental management in the country. So it is the Environmental Management Agency, and some of its functions, like I mentioned, are to formulate environmental policies and laws which then govern the way in which the environment is handled in the country, and also to make sure that the public accesses environmental information, to make sure that those laws that have been formulated are actually enforced, and just to make sure that there is order in as far as the environment sector is concerned. So in a nutshell, that's Emma.
That's what Emma does. You know, from your introduction, you touch on very critical issues, land degradation, and your role is to ensure that we preserve this land, and to ensure that it's used sustainably and for the next generation. Just give us a bit of insight of how you have been faring in as far as land degradation, in as far as pollution is concerned.
All right, maybe let me take it relating it to environmental law. Like I mentioned, that the agency was established under an Act of Parliament, which is the Environmental Management Act. That Act, the Environmental Management Act, it provides for environmental rights that every citizen of Zimbabwe is entitled to. Those rights are also enshrined in the Constitution of Zimbabwe in Section 73. And these rights provide for a clean environment that is not harmful to health, so which means every citizen of Zimbabwe is entitled to a clean environment that is not harmful to their health. The other right that is there is access to environmental information, which means that every citizen or every person in this country is entitled to access environmental information. And the last right is that every citizen is entitled to is participation in environmental programs which are meant to promote sustainable development. So it is now the duty of the state to make sure that laws are formulated, policies are formulated, to make sure that enablers are there for the provision of these environmental rights, so that people realize these environmental rights. So as the agency, we managed to formulate those environmental laws, and the main piece of legislation is the Environmental Management Act, Chapter 2027, which in a nutshell provides for sustainable development. Then on top of the Act, we also have statutory instruments. For example, when we look at issues to do with air pollution or emissions into the air, we have statutory instrument 72, we have statutory instrument number 6, which manages effluent and solid waste. We have statutory instrument number 8, which manages hazardous waste. We have other amendments to these statutory instruments, like statutory instrument number 84, which prohibits the use of K-light, especially in the food industry. We also have, for example, statutory instrument number 98, which prohibits the production and the trade in thin plastics, those plastics that have a wall thickness of less than 30 micrometers. So these are the laws that we use, and we enforce these laws, these pieces of legislation, to ensure that we achieve those environmental rights, to make sure that we work towards prevention of pollution, and make sure that we work towards prevention of land degradation. And the whole idea behind all this is to make sure that there is sustainable development. We want a scenario whereby we bring about a balance between development and the environment. We want to develop. We want to utilize our natural resources for our benefit. We want to make money out of the minerals that we have, the vegetation that we have, and any other resource that we have. We need to benefit. We need to have improved lifestyles because of that. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we leave the environment in a state which is not degraded, so that when we eventually hand it over to the next generation, they will be able to realize the same benefits that we realized from that environment. That's the balance that we want to bring about in everything that we do, everything that the agency is mandated to do. The ultimate goal is sustainable development.
And making, that's very interesting, that you are not only focusing on what we are doing with the land for ourselves, but are we leaving a legacy for our children? I'm sure we are benefiting because of some people who preserved the land in the past. And it then brings up a question about our indigenous knowledge. Were we preserving the land before Emma? Was there anything around preserving of the land back in the days?
It was. Indigenous knowledge systems are quite an important component in environmental management. Like I mentioned, that the agency was only formulated in 2007, but if you take a look at our environment back then, it was being preserved. Instances where there are tree species that they say they cannot be utilized. There are lakes, natural lakes, that people should never fetch water from. They shouldn't wash from there. There are actually other forests that you cannot even go into. Such instances, such indigenous knowledge systems, they were meant to preserve the environment. Even the issue of totems, where you, like myself, Dunera Shava, so you know that the eland, I'm not even supposed to hunt it. I'm not going to do anything to it. So it means it's going to be preserved. For someone also who has their totem, maybe it's a lion or it's an elephant, whatever, it was meant to make sure that we preserve the environment. So those indigenous knowledge systems, we don't even abandon them. Actually, even up to today, we infuse them with these laws that we have, so that together they can also play their role in protecting the same environment. Because like you rightly said, we have this environment today because our predecessors managed to use those indigenous knowledge systems to preserve it. Hence, we should do the same to our children and our children's children.
And take care of the environment. I want to take you back to the issue you spoke about. I remember a couple of years ago, I was walking along the streets in Harare, and from nowhere I saw a person clad in khaki uniform with an Emma emblem. I think whether arresting or trying to find someone who was holding a paper bag. I think in that particular time, issues such as K-lights and those thin plastics you're talking about, we would see a lot of enforcement around that issue. Why is it that that's an important issue? What's the difference between the thin plastic bags and the thick ones? And why are we not seeing a lot of enforcement around that issue? All right.
In terms of plastics, what we want, what we envision is an environment which is free of plastics. we want to do away with plastics. So it's a phased approach where we had to start with those thin plastics. The major disadvantages of plastics are that most of them are non-biodegradable. So once they enter into the environment, into the production chain, they take long for them to be disposed of sustainably. That's why most of the litter that we come across, plastics are the main constituents of that litter. Plastic, if it's not properly managed, if it's littered all over, it can block storm drains. That's when we end up having flash floods, especially when we have heavy rains. Like this year, the projections indicate that we're going to have heavy rains. So that will be a great disadvantage if our environment is littered with plastic. Then lastly, also, if you consider the agriculture sector, where we talk about livestock production, and even besides the livestock, even the wildlife on its own, if they accidentally feed on the plastic, that's very detrimental. It can even be fatal. And I've heard a lot of farmers complaining that when they slaughter their beasts, they remove loads and loads of plastic from them. So those are some of the disadvantages associated with plastic, but mainly because of its non-biodegradable nature. So our aim is to use packaging that is at least biodegradable, that is at least environmentally friendly, which when you dispose of into the environment will use its natural systems to make sure that it degrades in a natural manner and also at a faster rate. But when it comes to plastics, they persist in the environment for many, many years. So our aim is to make sure that in the long run, we are not going to be using plastics. So we are actually advocating for alternatives. And we've realized that the packaging industry is the major consumer of plastic. So we had to start with the phasing out of thin plastics. Those thin plastics...
Oh, it was just the beginning.
Yes, it was just the beginning. we are going somewhere. Definitely we are going somewhere. So the thin plastics... they had a major disadvantage of littering the environment because they were not durable at all. You buy it, you put your goods, before you even reach your destination, maybe it's broken, you need another one. So people had to use more of those plastics, but still they could not be reused. You just use it once, it's broken, it's now litter. And they were a bit difficult to recycle. So it means they were just coming into the system and then they are disposed of. So we had to do away with those thin plastics. And I'm glad to say, I think on that we have managed to score because as of now we rarely see those plastics in the system.
And I think just to jump in there, I think if maybe we didn't, I never got this explanation back then, but I'm actually happy that that's one of the reasons you did it, because nobody wants to spend their money and never use the plastic again. I mean, I should be able to get home with all my goods in a plastic.
Exactly.
But, that information was never shared. Maybe it was, but we didn't really get the information. So how can people access this information? Because you mentioned that the role of Emma as well is to ensure that this information reaches out to the people. Yeah, maybe just to take you back a bit to finish off on the plastic issue. So right now, what we encourage people to do, especially the retailers, because they are the ones that give us the plastic bags when we do our shopping, we encourage the use of thicker plastic bags as a short-term solution, because eventually we do not want the plastic in the environment. But at least a thicker plastic bag can be reused. You buy it today, you use it today, the next day you want to go for shopping, you can take the same plastic bag and use it again. But the best would be packaging made of recyclable material or packaging made of biodegradable material, like we have seen other shops making paper bags, like bags made of paper, those khaki papers. That one is more ideal. Or even the best that we encourage you to do is to have those bags even made of cloth
or even made of bamboo that do not tear off easily.
They're durable.
Very, very, very durable, that you can use over and over again. Or even shopping baskets. Remember when we were growing up, our mothers had shopping baskets. They used to take a basket with them when they go shopping, they go to pick up fruits, and maybe we thought it was old-fashioned, but it's for our own good. It's environmentally friendly. It's an ecologically friendly practice. So we encourage, we are encouraging the retailers, even us, the consumers, to make sure that we embrace biodegradable packaging and make sure that eventually we do away with plastic.
Before you go into my next question, you know, when you just spoke about the old baskets, I actually started envisioning. I remember my mom had one, you know, with some art on the side, and I used to go to the shops with it. I think, you know, it should be an in thing now. We should try to bring that back.
Exactly.
But for the producers to produce this product, it means that there's a demand. Yes, you're going to, in the long run, because obviously the manufacturers of these products have machineries that they have invested in. And in the long run, we envisage to get rid of them. But what about the consumer? How are you dealing with the consumer in as far as reducing their demand? Because for me right now, it's working. This conversation we're having here, I don't want to see plastics anymore. What are you doing as Emma to ensure that, you know, you reduce the demand? Let's just focus on the plastic at the moment.
All right. Yeah, the issue is all about the mindset and the perceptions and the attitudes that people have. And actually twinning it with your question on access to environmental information, what we do as Emma is we try as much as possible to change the perceptions of people, especially when they are from the negative to the positive. So in this case, we have a lot of channels that we use to share information with the public on various environmental issues, including this issue of plastic, where we'll be letting people know, sharing information on the disadvantages of using this plastic packaging, actually even telling them to carry their baskets, to make sure that they have shopping bags, so that by the time they go to the shops, they have their bags already. They are not even going to buy from the retailer. And we use various channels. We even go to the grassroots, where we have meetings with community members, even in the rural areas. We make use of stakeholders such as the traditional leaders. Actually, traditional leaders are a very important stakeholder in environmental management, also because they have provisions in their law, the Traditional Leaders Act, on managing the environment within the areas of jurisdiction. So we take advantage of those traditional leaders, and we make sure that they are aware of some of these issues, and even the village heads and the headmen, so that when they have their meetings with their people, they disseminate this information. We also work with religious leaders, which we believe have got a lot of influence, especially to their congregants, and we believe also that congregants listen. They're so obedient to their pastors and their apostles, bishops and prophets. So we want to take advantage of that. So we engage the religious leaders and make sure that they are aware of this information, so that they can also cascade it to their congregants. These are some of the platforms that we use. We also do road shows both in urban and in rural areas, just making sure that everyone has access to this information, so that as they make their decisions, they make them from a well-informed point of view. And our mission will be to create environmental stewards, a person who makes decisions that are good for them and good for the environment, not because they've been pushed by Emma, not because they are afraid of the punishment or the fine that can be associated with their wrongdoing. No, we want a person to be an environmental steward. We want them to make the decision on their own. For example, a decision that I'm not going to throw litter from my vehicle or from the bus because I'm a responsible citizen, not because they are afraid of the penalty that is going to come.
And how much is the penalty now?
The penalty for litter, it's $20.
I hope viewers, you are listening to this. It's $20 if you are caught.
No, not RTGS.
US dollars, the emphasis there. So that's a lot of money. So this is how much, you are costing the environment. You're costing yourself by littering. And also, as you were speaking, I also thought that reusing a plastic bag means that you are saying, no matter how little, even if it's $5, how many times do you go to the shop? Some go every day. And if you calculate that $5 every day, you're saving yourself a good amount of money that you can use elsewhere. So in as much as it looks like it's following what Emma wants, it's also good for our pockets.
For you, exactly. You actually save. And also related to that, this issue of reusing, recycling, they're actually green jobs that have been created because of that. They're actually civil society organizations, they are companies, they are individuals, community-based organizations that are actually making a living out of that. Because we have people who collect waste, we have people who separate waste, we have companies that then do the recycling. All those are jobs that have been created out of waste. So it means we are killing two birds with one stone. We are reducing the amount of litter in the environment. At the same time, we're making money. And we'll be also going in line with international trends, especially on moving away from the linear economy to the circular economy, which is a more sustainable economic model. The linear economy is the one that we were used to, whereby we produce, we generate waste, we dispose it off, and nothing is preserved, everything is just disposed of and is thrown away and is rendered useless. Whereas a circular economy, which is more sustainable, is whereby everything is maintained for as long as possible in the environment. So for example, a natural resource is introduced into the value chain, there is production, there is waste that is produced. That waste might be waste to this person who is produced, but to another it can be a resource. So that waste is then utilized again and again through reuse, through resource recovery, through recycling. And that's the economic model that we would want to head towards as a nation, because most other economies are heading towards that. Some in the developed world have already achieved that, and we as a nation also want to take that route.
We are going that route. Another man's waste is another man's raw material.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so in case you're just joining us, you are tuned in to Newzim TV. My name is Lynette Manzini, and the program is The Village. In today's program, we are focusing on the environment, and the guest with me in the studio is trying to educate us so that we can understand whose role it is to take care of the environment. I am in the studio with Joyce, Chapungu, the Environmental Agency Communication Officer. Joyce, over the I think 2 years, we've been going through every last Friday of the month. First Friday, my apologies. First Friday of the month, there's a cleanup campaign. And people are going out to clean. How, just give us an idea of what has been going on, and have you been achieving your goals? Because obviously we want to clean up the environment, but it's a one-day thing. How relevant is it in terms of changing the perceptions and the behaviors that you spoke about earlier on?
All right. This cleanup, yes, is done on the first Friday of every month, but it's not like that's the only day when we are supposed to clean our environment. Cleaning the environment is meant for every day. Just like you wash your body every day and you clean your house every day, the same applies to the environment. It's supposed to be clean at all times. Remember that environmental right that I said every citizen is entitled to a clean, safe and healthy environment that is not harmful to their health. So it means if I'm living in that environment every day I'm supposed to have a clean environment. So the National Cleanup Program, yes, it was launched to be done on the first Friday of every month, but that it's a program which is meant to lead by example, which is meant to educate the people on how it's supposed to be done. But it's not like people are supposed to clean on that first Friday only. Cleaning is supposed to be done every day. And maybe just to clarify on this particular program, I'm sure we have had a lot of cleanups in the past, but the major difference with this particular cleanup program is that on that first Friday of each month, it's supposed to be every citizen participating. It's not an Emma thing.
I hope that the viewers can hear you loud and clear.
Get me clear on this. This cleanup program is not for Emma. It's for every citizen of Zimbabwe. If you read the declaration that was signed by the President of Zimbabwe, Comrade Idi Mnangagwa, on that day, it clearly states that every citizen of Zimbabwe is supposed to participate in cleaning their immediate environment. So it's not like we are going to call you to say, come here and let's clean spot B while we neglect spot A. No, we are saying where you are supposed to clean your immediate environment for at least for 2 hours from 8 to 10 so that you can go ahead with your business for the rest of the day. And that is just to educate the public and make sure that they participate in making the environment clean. And it's supposed to be everyone, everywhere, whether in the rural areas. I know that from the discussion that we had earlier on, that in Zimbabwe, according to a survey that was done some years back, Zimbabwe generates about 1.65 million tons of waste.
That's a lot.
That's a lot per year. And if we look at those tons of waste, it means that everyone in Zimbabwe is generating the waste. It's not like Emma is generating that waste. So if everyone is generating that waste, it means everyone should also participate. At one point I was saying every person, even from a newborn baby to the very elderly, they have the potential to generate waste. If we talk about babies, we talk about diapers, yes. So if everyone has that potential of generating waste, it means everyone should also participate in cleaning the environment. Simple.
And it's also a good thing to catch these children young so that they understand that it's a very important issue. Mm-hmm. But somebody will come and say, we have the local authorities who are there to clean up our environment. Obviously, I wash my body because, I'm responsible for it. And my yard, I clean it up, or the gardener takes care of that. Mm-hmm. But then outside, I'm expecting the local authorities to come and spruce up the roads. I mean, why then are they getting paid if we have to every Friday help them to work?
All right. When it comes to the issue of waste management, it's not a one-man band. Everyone should play a role. Everyone has a responsibility that they have. For example, the reason why we need to have a local authority person coming to pick up litter in the streets is because someone is littered. But if we were responsible enough to place litter in the bin, it means there was no need to employ such a person to come and do that. So it's all about the mindset, the attitudes, the perceptions that we have. And my word out there is my word to all Zimbabweans out there and to everyone listening. Just be a responsible citizen. Make sure that whatever actions that you do, they are meant for the good of the environment. And make sure that you play your part. The local authority should also play their part. And some of the issues that we have with the waste management are because this one is not playing their part. This one is then blaming that one for not playing their part. But if we all play our parts in this issue of waste management, I'm sure our environment will be clean. Local authorities have to make sure that they have regular collection schedules, because that's one of the major issues in most urban local authorities, where waste is not being collected. At the end of the day, people end up dumping. Dumping is not good. Even if waste is not collected, we do not encourage the dumping of waste.
What do you encourage us to do? Because I'm sure there are people listening right now and maybe they haven't seen a garbage truck coming in their area for 2 weeks. What do we do if they don't come?
All right. That's a story for another day, but I'll just touch on it briefly. First of all, I spoke about the circular economy, where we want to maintain our resources in the environment for a long time, and its relationship with recycling. First of all, we encourage people to make sure that they separate their waste at source. You have your waste, let's say at household level, you have cardboard boxes, maybe from cereals, you have plastics from your bread and other packaging, you have your bottles, you have your containers maybe from detergents like Domestos, like Handy. All those that are recyclable should be separated and put in a separate bag, where they can be taken to recycling centers. We have a number of them, and we're in the process also of working with these local authorities and other civil society organizations, so that we can establish more recycling centers where people can take all the waste that can be recycled and it can be used for recycling. Then we also have waste that is biodegradable. We talk about your vegetable peels, your fruit peels, your hedge and lawn cuttings, your leaves. All that waste is not supposed to be in the waste bin.
And your suds too.
Yes, and your suds, yeah. We encourage all that waste to be composted. If you have a lot of space, it's easier. Even if you don't have space, you can even use containers for composting. At the end of the day, it means you have little waste that is destined for the landfill. So it means even if the local authority skips a week without coming, you can still manage the waste because you don't have huge volumes of waste. That's a starting point, and that's what we encourage all our citizens to do.
If I can just jump in there, we are running out of time, but I want us just to touch on the issue of Friday, 2 October. There's a National Cleanup Day, and I just wanted you to just tell our viewers what is happening on the 2nd and what they should do.
All right. On the 2nd is the National Cleanup Day, just like every other first Friday of the month. I know we are in a different era, the COVID era, where a new normal has been introduced. But still, in that new normal, we need to maintain our cleanliness. Actually, cleanliness are actually an important aspect in terms of managing this COVID-19 pandemic. So we encourage everyone to participate in this on this National Cleanup Day. We want people to clean their immediate environment. We don't expect areas close to buildings, even in sanitary lanes, even along streets, to be littered, as long as there are people either staying there or working from there. It's during working hours, so we encourage even those that are working, just sacrifice those 2 hours. And if you do it quickly and efficiently, you might not even have to spend all the 2 hours, maybe just an hour. You have cleaned your environment. But what I encourage everyone is to participate. It's for everyone. Remember the other rights that I mentioned, that it's your right to participate in environmental programs that are meant for sustainable development. Here is one program that you can participate in.
Participate. So make sure that you go out next Friday, 2 October, and clean your immediate environment. We can cut costs. The local authorities can cut costs by, as long as we play our part in reducing the litter they have to collect. So I'd like to thank you very much, Joyce, for coming to the program. Thank you very much for educating our viewers on the importance of environmental protection, and also telling us what to do in terms of separating our litter. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lynette, for having me.
That's all we had for you in today's program. I was in the studio with Joyce Chapungu. She is the Environmental Management Agency Communication Officer, who was explaining to us, helping us understand whose role it is to take care of the environment. And please don't forget, Friday, 2 October, National Cleanup Day. Let's go out and clean our immediate environment. Until next time, goodbye.